both listened to Luna, which I can't speak for Ollie, but I absolutely loved. Amazing stuff, and I'm not a big I wouldn't out say it, but I'm not a very, very big music person. So
Mm.
analyzing music, it's not necessarily my thing, but it's something I could like relate to in ways that I felt was quite accessible for something classical. So Grein Moon, for example, I really enjoyed that one specifically. It felt like little stars popping up and then
Oh.
disappearing again. It was beautiful, and I was wondering what the emotion is that you put behind a song like that when you play. Is it melancholy? Is it, or are you just focusing on technique, or are you playing with a certain kind of emotion?
It's a really good question, actually, because I think for a long time when I was playing the organ, I wasn't thinking about emotion. It was just like worrying about playing the right notes. And that's a total different experience to every other instrument I played. With the harp, with the piano, it was always like emotion driven. And I think it's only more recently that I've started trying to look at the organ in the same way. And I think what I love about it is the fact that like emotions aren't simple things, right? They're not just like 2D, simple to define concepts. So if we're feeling sad, it will be tinged with like a memory of happiness and maybe a bit of jealousy or a bit of anger. And so what I love about a piece like Grein Moon is it's all of those things swirling around in sound. So
Mhm.
if I was trying to like put one emotion on it, I think I would put, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Like wistful, but also like a lovely nostalgia. Because
Mm.
it changes, it morphs throughout the piece. So it's when it starts, it's kind of like, yeah, I guess maybe a little bit melancholy, but then it becomes brighter, more positive, and then it returns to that opening idea, and it's like the emotions changed, even though it's the same material. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I find it interesting because I mean I never really did the theory. My mom always said, okay, exams are too much stress, so she sent me to piano lessons. I did piano, but never the exams. It was the same with drums. So I can play them, but my theory isn't that great. And I always felt that playing with emotion was one thing, but then the technique and the real
Mm.
specifics is something else. And I was wondering, where do they intersect? So if you have, for example, AI that could play the exact notes but not have any emotion behind that,
Mm.
can you, for example, play beyond technique, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think what we're all aiming for with technique as musicians is for it not to be audible, for the technical knowledge not to be like something that you are ever distracted by.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other way of thinking about it is to never be distracted by how difficult a piece of music might be, but instead just hear it as a work of art. And that's when the emotions can then come to the fore because the music isn't kind of getting in the way. Does that make sense?
That makes
It's
sense.
like
Yeah.
it's a sort of vehicle for the emotions as opposed to kind of being something you have to battle through in order to put the emotions across. When it comes to AI, I think it's particularly interesting with the organ actually because the organ isn't like a piano. It's not like if you play a piano key harder, it will sound harder. If you play an organ key harder, it will sound exactly the same.
Wow.
So it's like it's binary. It's on or off. So when you're talking about emotion in organ music, like thinking how that is put across is a really interesting thing because it's all just like differing degrees of like lengthening notes occasionally, shortening notes occasionally. So it is kind of like a mathematical exercise. So I feel like maybe the organ is going to be one of the first instruments that AI can kind of successfully or maybe nearly successfully play with emotion. I hope that doesn't happen anytime soon, and I hope you'd still be able to tell the difference. But it would be interesting to hear.